Know the difference with Annex Wealth Management. Alec Durand is an estate planning attorney with Annex. Welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
You know, we dot I's, we cross T's here at Annex Wealth Management when it comes to our clients. Details matter, and when it comes to estate planning, there are plenty of details to watch, including some gotchas that can come up with remarriages, which are becoming more common with seniors. And we're going to talk about some of the situations. Alec, the first is making sure your current spouse is protected. And to be clear, we're talking about the new marriage partner. What could go wrong there?
Yeah, first and foremost would be not updating your estate plan to account for the fact that you now have a new spouse. Default laws in different states can affect the passage of property. If you don't have an estate plan in place, you're going to be subject to the laws of intestacy of the state where you reside, which could unintentionally disinherit your new spouse or leave assets other than how you want them to go.
Let's say it's your typical June wedding, right? When do you do this? Do you do this before you're married? Can you do it before you're married? Illegally married?
Most often, you're going to need to actually execute any joint estate plan with a new spouse after you're married. But you can definitely do some pre-planning before you're married. Particularly, prenuptial agreements become more and more common with second marriages. It can help to protect both any prior children and yourself if you're interested in making sure that your assets pass how you intend. But as far as executing anything jointly, that's typically going to have to wait until after the marriage is done.
Estate planning and remarriages, what are the gotchas? Another is failure to protect your children from a prior marriage. How would that spell out?
If you were married originally and you had children with your first spouse, when you get remarried, the law favors spouses, generally speaking. If you don't have a proper estate plan that's updated, you could unintentionally cut out your children from inheriting everything you otherwise want them to receive. So getting an updated plan in place can help to make sure that your children are protected.
Alec Durand is an estate planning attorney at Annex Wealth Management, talking about remarriage pitfalls, things to watch out for when structuring an estate plan upon remarriage. Failure to protect against depletion of assets. Okay, that sounds lawyerly. What are we talking about there?
It's basically going back to that earlier example of if you have children from a first marriage, you might want to leave assets to your now spouse, but you also want to make sure that your children ultimately inherit. You can do that. You just need to make sure that you have documents in place to make sure that your surviving spouse is taken care of, but your children will also ultimately be taken care of. Typically, that's going to involve some type of trust-based planning, often use of what's called a marital trust, where you're leaving assets to a surviving spouse. They get the beneficial use of those assets, but they might not have ultimate control over the distributions. That's where you can have some third party in place to make sure your surviving spouse is taken care of, but doesn't frivolously spend down the assets and disinherit your children.
Here's one that might hurt the most: failure to protect your estate from your first spouse.
Right. That is typically going to happen most commonly with a failure to update beneficiary designations. So beneficiary designations are assets that pass by contract. Most common ones are going to be life insurance policies, IRAs, 401ks, annuities, brokerage accounts. The named beneficiary of those accounts is almost always going to be the person that actually inherits those assets. If you don't update those designations after your either first marriage ended or after you get remarried, you could unintentionally, again, disinherit your current spouse or your children if you have any. So it's making sure that you've crossed all your T's and dotted all your I's following your new marriage.
Let's talk about the case of a client of Annex Wealth Management, widowed or divorced. They're going to be married again. What's the process that you'd like to see? Bring everything then they currently have?
Yeah, I mean, best practice for us, we always would like to see clients' estate plans because it can help us better inform them about their financial planning. We can help guide them through how their assets are going to be transferred and whether their current beneficiary designations are consistent with their estate plan or with their new life situation if they got remarried. So knowing that can be helpful for us. It's not required. Some clients don't want to share that personal information, and that's totally fine. What we would encourage clients to do is at least share those life updates with us. If you're going to get remarried or if you're contemplating divorce, let us know so we can help update your financial plan accordingly, particularly when it comes to updating those beneficiary designations.
Estate planning, tax planning, investment and retirement planning. It's what we do. You can start at annexwealth.com. Alec Durand is an estate planning attorney at Annex Wealth Management. He and the team watch over these and other little gotchas that our clients want and need to avoid. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.